I'm going to tell you which stats actually matter at the tight end position if you want to crush on DraftKings and FanDuel. We're starting right now. What's up, guys? Welcome to another daily fantasy sports video. If this is your first time here and you want to become a profitable DFS player and get better at betting, start now by subscribing to the channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything along the way. And if you're already a Holkamaniac, you know exactly what time it is. Smash that like button and we'll get rolling. I'm really prioritizing high team totals because touchdowns can skew kind of a week for some of these guys so heavily, especially when they're going to see far fewer targets. So not necessarily targeting touchdowns, but targeting situations where I think touchdowns will be scored. Obviously target share is important. You'll see those type of things for some of the elite guys, obviously right away. But something else too was how much quarterbacks throw to their tight end, similar to the running back type thing that I was looking at before. There's just some guys that throw to their tight ends a lot, but the same point you made is probably valid for tight ends. Patrick Mahomes throws to his tight end a lot because he's got Travis Kelce. Wentz throws to his tight end a lot because he's got Zach Ertz. So that could be a stat that maybe doesn't matter a ton, but I'm at least kind of on the right place with the high team totals. And how do you feel about the touchdowns and tight ends in general?
Yeah, I think that's all sound stuff. Tight ends is really tough. Most of the same analysis that you do with wide receivers, because they are, at least the ones we would target in fantasy, are basically move tight ends. They are receivers. Another way to kind of search for hidden treasure would be to look at how many routes run they have if you have PFF. How many blocking snaps they get versus how many in-route snaps they get.
So just routes in general, not necessarily yards per route with tight end?
Well, definitely yards, but I'm talking about if you're trying to find a guy that is off the radar.
Gotcha.
Like if you're trying to back into a guy. So if you see on a team like, say, Tampa Bay, you saw last year that while O.J. Howard didn't get a ton of targets, he was very efficient with them. And as the season wore on, he got more of his snaps en route. And that is promising for this season. And I think, there's no such thing as a sleeper in fantasy anymore, but he's definitely one of those guys that a lot of people are expecting to have a big year because he's kind of grown into the move tight end role while also being good enough at blocking to stay on the field for those snaps.
By the way, guys, if you've ever found value in any of my videos or live streams, one of the best ways to support what I'm doing here for free is to throw me the follow over on Twitter. And if you're new to the community, I also do a ton of content exclusive to Instagram and LinkedIn. So if you could take a few minutes and just make sure you're following me over there as well, I really appreciate it. From a DFS perspective, I feel like the reason that everyone did so well paying up for tight end at times last year is because these guys were seeing the volume of wide receivers with significant roles in the red zone as well, but they weren't priced like elite wide receivers. So I think that that's one thing we'll have to keep an eye on with guys like Travis Kelce and O.J. Howard, keeping an eye on his price as well. Definitely a ton of upside this year. So I was actually paying attention to the tails as far as teams that don't defend tight ends very well and teams that do. Is there ever exceptions for that sort of thing, or should I really just continue to focus on volume? I guess Stilk is kind of looking for other things to try and be tiebreakers.
As a tiebreaker, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I don't see a problem with that. I think you're weighting it correctly in that regard. But like starting your process that way, I think would be bad, But if you've narrowed it down to like 3 or 4 guys and you found a defense that tends to give up a lot to tight ends, there may be a reason for it.
Have you done much research with tight end in regards to Vegas? One of the things that I found kind of looking back at some things was that being at home for tight end for whatever reasons matters a lot. It could just be because more often than not, you're going to be projected for more points when you're at home. So that could be kind of part of that. Like big favorites, obviously we need teams to score more often at tight end just because they're not going to be getting as many targets on average. So is there anything to using Vegas outside of just high team totals?
I can't think of a good reason why being at home would help the tight end.
Okay.
The one thing I did find as regards tight ends that does appear to be real is young quarterbacks tend to favor their tight ends. That's definitely a real thing.
Nice.
But I think it also can be mitigated by 3 wide receiver sets. So like this year, I would say a guy like Cole Beasley might end up being the safety blanket for Josh Allen if he decides that he is going to like stop his scrambling and putting his health at risk like he did in the second half of last year. So I think, if things look complicated down the field for Allen this year, I think the Cole Beasley would be the beneficiary instead of Zay Jones.
Interesting. Should we be using Whopper for tight end, and should we kind of be using that same sample size of 3 games that you mentioned before?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that works.
Perfect. If you want to learn more about how to become a profitable daily fantasy sports player and better, start now by hitting the subscribe icon in the bottom right-hand corner so you don't miss anything. Be on the lookout for all of my DFS content, starting with these videos right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.